Mirror's Edge is a game about running, jumping, and of course, parkour. And every time you encounter a group of enemies, you push to escape using the parkour methods at your disposal. But what if we flip that idea on its head? What if we ask the question, can you beat Mirror's Edge whilst killing everyone? Alright, so the rules for this run are simple. Number 1, this run can be played on any difficulty. Personally, I chose normal. Number 2, every single enemy encounter must be attempted in some way or another. And finally, number 3, once an enemy encounter has been beaten, you don't have to do that specific counter again if you die and get spawned back at a checkpoint. Once the group of enemies are dead, you can mark that as done. So, without further ado, let's get into the run. So after we hit play, we immediately skip the tutorial because we're professionals around here and move on to the prologue. After doing some simple parkour, we unlock our first tech of the run, the sidestep. Now, when holding a strafe key and pressing jump, Faith will do a sidestep, which immediately rockets you in the direction you strafed in, bringing you to full speed instantly without the need for a long run-up. So, after some more running and climbing, we first try to kick over a door, miss spectacularly, actually hit it the second time around. Then, after running up some stairs and doing some more wall parkour, we climb through a vent and land on the floor, which, funnily enough, brings us to the first combat encounter of the run. So our very first encounter is 4 normal cops. Now in Mirror's Edge, when you run into an enemy that you're meant to fight, they'll have a red outline around them unless you're on hard difficulty. So with that, you can clearly see these 4 cops don't have a red outline, meaning you're meant to run away from the encounter. We are not doing that. Now unfortunately, our first attempt is foiled by gunfire while trying to escape, but our second is much more successful. So after quite literally almost dying or running up some stairs, we begin the strive. This unlocks the second tech of the run, the slide kick. So, whilst Faith is moving, if you press the crouch button, then attack, you'll perform a sliding kick. Can follow up with a drop kick, which will bring him out of the stun, but deal the same amount of damage as the kick. Anyway, we easily dispatch this group of enemies by slide to drop kick combo and kicking them down the stairs to trigger the falling animation, killing the enemies instantly when falling. So, after that encounter, it's a little bit of parkour before going straight to the next one, with only 2 cops to begin with. Now these are the first guys you're actually meant to kill. But shortly after, 2 more cops come out of a door from a place you can't reach, meaning the only way to kill them is by gunning them down from below. Thankfully, another 2 cops spawn in from an accessible building, also dropping their guns. Finally allowing us to gun down the ones inaccessible by melee.
Also, don't forget this guy.
Man, I'm dead.
Now, with all that out of the way, you'd expect that to be the end of the prologue, right? Nope. Because after we climb a ladder, we're immediately assaulted by 4 SWAT units. First we attempt to dispatch them through normal means, which doesn't work at all, as we die multiple times trying. But then we accidentally discover our third tech, which funnily enough is just a mash of the last 2 techs. That being, the sidestep circle strafe slide kick thing. And after jumping on a chopper, this finally brings us to the end of this chapter. Alright, so we start out this chapter with some parkour to reach the black building a little bit away. Literally one of the worst combat encounters of the run is right now. Now funnily enough, the hardest part for me of this encounter was trying to figure out how to tackle it correctly, as the way I started doing it was completely wrong. So the way I was trying to approach this encounter first involved me trying to kill the 5 odd enemies coming out of the elevator, But after 2 hours of slide kicking and dying, I figured there had to be another way.
Not only do they do that, but they actually jump scare you. This is what they do. You see it, they jump scare you, and it's actually disgraceful. It's truly disgraceful.
Finally clearing this stupid encounter.
But I'm not done yet.
It was like 2 seconds later, 3 more SWATs appeared from literally nowhere. But I took them out with relative ease for a change.
But I'm not done yet.
As in the next room, you're simply meant to keep running away from the enemies. So, as if you stick around for a little bit, you can actually see cops trying to bust down a door. So once the cops started pouring out of what like felt a clown car, like seriously, look at this room! I started fighting.
Bruh.
As when you're escaping from the police chopper and bust through a door to get into cover, you're ambushed by 3 SWATs coming out of the elevator at the end of the hall you need to get to. Of course, normally you're meant to just jump a couple fences, but that's not how we roll. But it still isn't over! As after a short elevator ride, we reached the news building, which for some god-awful reason contains 2 more SWAT encounters. The first one being just as you get out of the elevator, as if you wait a bit, 4 SWATs will bust through a door to engage in combat. But that's not it, as when you advance slightly through the level, the exact same thing will happen again, where 4 more SWATs will bust through a door and try and kill you. So obviously I continue the trend of dying over and over again like a complete tosser, before I finally manage to take both encounters out and continue. So after running in a literal straight line, we get to the entrance to the plaza, not before seeing two shotgun cops up some stairs. This is unfortunately where the run technically ends, as you cannot kill the cops due to there being a death barrier, where you get shot and die instantly. But like, that doesn't really matter, so on with we go. After avoiding the shotguns like the plague, we run down into the plaza to escape from the fuzz, which then after sound page descending into some stairs, leading into... So, you know when I said Pope's office was a terrible encounter? Well this is so much worse. Thus, we have to wait the longest 18 seconds of our lives for these two stupid rolling doors to open and the cops to come out. Now, surprisingly enough, there is actually less cops in this encounter than Pope's office, so, like, that would mean it's easier, right? No. So once the cops finally pour out of the two doors opposite each other, we realize our terrible, terrible mistake. There are 6 SWATs. And all we have are our hands and feet. And one hallway. Unlike Pope's office, there's hardly any wiggle room to move around and evade gunfire. So of course we die like a tosser so many times trying to best this encounter that I had to resort to literally generating new tech and having to rely on goddamn speedrun tech. Yeah, let me break that down for you. So the tech you're seeing here is a wall boost. Now, a wall boost is where you begin a wall run, but the instant you start running on the wall, you immediately jump off, which gives you a fat boost of speed in that direction you're going. Now, of course, wall boosting only works while going forward, otherwise it just doesn't work at all. So with all that out of the way, let me present to you the winning attempt. So first we start things off by waiting for the first 3 SWATs to emerge from the gate, thusly resulting in a swift ball kick for the first guy, and then a sidestep jump down the stairs to hide behind a pillar like a complete coward. Now while we wait for one of them to come down the stairs, which gives us enough time to hit a slide to drop kick combo on the guy, after that we book it to the next pillar, hitting a wall boost on the way there, to then grease behind the second pillar, then we go for a slide kick, change our mind midway, and then stun the other guy, whilst also hitting a foul kick on the original target, which almost kills us. So we GTFO out of there, hitting another clean wall boost to then hide behind the third pillar, which gets us a cheap slide kick to then sidestep the opposite direction to hide behind this wall for 2 microseconds while we check the enemy movement, which then opens up, allowing us to hit a clean wall run to slide dropkick combo, which drops one of them, I think, but almost erasing us from existence in the process. So in time, we don't even sidestep, instead we just trudge to the wall, allowing us to take ample opportunity to wall boost to the second pillar to get our health back. After that, hit a clean slide to drop combo to then skedaddle back to the first pillar, then allowing a clean slide to drop combo. But in the process, we fumble our sidestep going up the stairs, making it so we eat like 5 bullets and almost drop dead, but we somehow manage to recover, allowing us to run away like a complete dwanky. Then hide behind a pillar for another 2 microseconds, to then book it down a corridor, completely fumbling a slide kick, and only giving the guy a light slap. So obviously we get out of dodge and run all the way to the second pillar for some reason, which then gives us ample room to hit a flying kick on a SWAT, to then double back to the pillar, hit a simple slide kick, to subsequently run to the third pillar to hit a slide drop kick combo on one of them, thankfully sending him to smell the roses, which gives us enough time to run back to the end of the hall to then try and juke the enemies. Unfortunately, hitting the worst wall run in history, but that's fine as there was enough wiggle room for us to hit a slide drop combo on a guy, sending him to Romania for good, thus allowing for a wall boost to the second pillar with only 2 guys remaining. With this, we hit a basic ass slide kick on one of them, to then dip back to the first pillar, which allows us to execute a nasty 3-hit combo on the guy, sending him to Kingdom Come. Now with only 1 guy left, he of course hits all his shots, sending us retreating back to the pink hall temporarily, but once he arrives at my location, I miss the easiest slide kick of my life, forcing another one straight after which connects, finally allowing us to hit him with the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and taking him out permanently.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Anyway, after double checking the bodies, I got out of there. Thankfully, the level still isn't done,
But I'm not done yet.
as there is another combat encounter immediately afterwards. Lockinator. So with all that out of the way, we finally zipline down to a building to then slide down the ramp to at last trigger the end cutscene, finishing this stupid chapter. So now armed with the knowledge that some dude named Jacknife might know something, we begin the journey to find the bastard. So the level first starts out with a pipe climb and swing, which will forever piss me off for no reason, though immediately after we're put into pursuit by the blues and twos. Unfortunately, we can't kill the cops that spawn on the catwalks above, as they're completely inaccessible, along with the chopper that's trying to send us to the Balkans. But after hitting some successful wall boosts, we get inside the building. And in traditional Mirror's Edge fashion, the speed drops off catastrophically, as we have to turn a valve and climb more pipes. Alas, sadly, this brings us to the drain. This was somewhere where I wasted way too much time just trying to get down the damn drain. But once we finally made it through some filler, we reach Big Room. Now to skip all the boring shit, let me just cut to the enemies.
Piss.
So with the snipers dead, we move on. After a short climbing section and a stupid useless death, we're back in this stupid fucking drain. Now not to torture you with waffle, this simple climb up took 3 minutes. That's 2 minutes too long. But once I got back to the surface, it was straight into combat. Thankfully though, it was up against shotgunner cops, which contrary to the assumption, are a complete joke. So after that riveting encounter, it's just a short elevated ride, then the Jacknife chase. But as this has nothing to do with our true goal of this video, let me just... So, in classical Mirror's Edge fashion, we're forced to do a hefty bit of parkour just to get to our destination. But once we get there, we skip a cutscene and then move on to the real shit, the encounter. Actually, the whole reason I decided to do this challenge. So when you spawn in, the game just gives you a pistol outright, which is phenomenal, frankly.
I tell you what though, folks, that's bloody nice.
As in this encounter, it hard carries. Now, in this level, you're meant to parkour up and out, and the pistol is meant to, like, you know, aid in breaking the glass. But if you wait for 1 minute and 30 seconds, 4 spots will come out of a nearby elevator. But if you die, you have to wait the longest minute and a half of your life, as I found out the hard way. Shortly after, we run into 2 cops who proved to be no challenge. Then we hit the door zone. So after a bit of fucking around, we finally hit a rhythm. So after all that action, it was straight onto some boring ass pipe climbing. Then it's a decent jog afterwards to the cranes. But fortunately there's a combat encounter coming up, and funnily enough, this is the first official encounter with SWAT units.
Overstimulation feels a lot like...
So surely you'd assume I just body them with no hassle, right? Nah, instead I just run straight into the first SWAT and just die. Nice one.
You stupid chicken.
But for the second time around, I actually pull my head in and hit the first guy with the Zingus combo for him to actually drop his weapon for the first time in the run. Meaning, I just gun the other two down mercilessly. Feels good, man. After that, it's a short elevator ride up, where I jump off a building instantaneously. Anyway, it's more casual parkouring until I get denied a wall run for no reason. After that, it's onto the scaffolding section, which I'm going to give the award to the ugliest set piece I've ever seen in a game.
Why are you blue?
So, in classic fashion, I waste time by getting lost. But hey, at least there's a free kill up here. So preceding that kill, we get off the scaffolding, eventually, and climb down to the base of the crane, where the last two shotgunners are. Dead. So it's a simple climb up and across the crane, and we are done. Oh boy, was this chapter cooked. So we start out by doing a lengthy amount of parkour to reach our destination. Now I didn't know this at the time, but this was a game giving me reprieve before Rapture, as you will soon see. So after all that traversal, we finally reach our destination. Now, we attempt to confront Ropeburn, but we get low poly model jump scared and thrown off a ledge. Carry a metal pipe to survive. We do. So after we skip the cutscene, because you already know the story, it's time to get out of there. As the cops are after us again, we're confronted by 3 regular SWATs to begin with. Then, after those have been dealt with, 3 more bust through a door, but die still fit to loaded firearm. So after that very successful encounter, in the very classical Buffalo 1 fashion, I die to stupidity. Twice. Then on the 3rd time, I actually wake up and go down the elevator properly. So after getting to the mall yet again, we're faced with a familiar predicament. In this area, we're forced to contend with a total of 5 SWATs. 4 of them coming down from the stairs, and 1 random one coming from the barbed wire fence. Now, unlike the Hell Corridor, we can't run anywhere. The area we're confined to is super tiny and leaves no room for juking. But that isn't even the worst part. The 4 SWATs who come down the stairs are apparently divine entities, as once they make their way down, their AI refuses to move them anywhere. And they'll kill you instantly if you get in their line of fire.
What the fuck was that damage, my guy? Oh!
But somehow it isn't over yet, as we have another combat encounter right afterwards. But unlike the trauma loop that just happened, this encounter you're actually meant to fight in. So this encounter is broken up into 2 parts, the easy part and the certified SWAT moment.
Oh shit.
So after that eventual success, it was onto the train tunnels for some more casual parkour. But surprisingly, on the way through the tunnels, we run into 2 shotgunners, which we dispatch. After that, it's a couple jumps, then we hop onto a moving train. Do some basic movement, utilize a speedrun trick where I get stuck on this sign,
Noise.
and finally reach the end of this forsaken level. So to start, you're meant to parkour up to the train tracks and zipline down to a door into the first area. However, there are 5 killable enemies in this area that need dealing with.
Well, that's just fucking great!
So the first 3 enemies are of a new variety, being the LMG SWAT. So to get past the 3 stooges here, we have to do a method that makes no fucking sense. But obviously this is the beginning area, so we bust through a door into a red corridor to then do the exact same thing 2 seconds later. But 3 regular cops bust through a door behind me and try to kill me. Clearly they don't realise at this point I'm a registered war criminal. What the fuck is that line? So I deal with them almost perfectly, only going to grey screen in the end. So after that brief scuffle, it's into an elevator, to then doing some easy parkour, only to soon be interrupted by 3 regular SWATs, who will go down with not much of a challenge. It's even more pipe climbing up to an elevator shaft and a building.
Cheeseburgers.
Just to be denied entry onto an air conditioning unit. Thanks. Thankfully, after another pipe climb, it's an encounter with 2 shotgunners where I hit the slimiest accidental takedown on the second guy. Get in! With those 2 out of the way, it was back to parkour, and a short elevator ride. It was into the vents of the New Eden Mall. So after a quick jog, we get blocked by a wall of enemies, and I'm not even going to try, as that is the death barrier of all time. So instead, it's up the elevator and out of there. I love elevators! So 4 SWATs come from downstairs, which we eventually deal with by stalling them and utilising an escalator as cover. But shortly after, we run into 2 more SWATs on a different escalator, which I died to on the first try. But get the second try weirdly enough, as they drop their weapons when killed, don't know why.
Noise.
So yet again, after those 2 enemies had been dealt with, we make our escape back to the atrium where there were 2 normal cops and an LMG cop downstairs.
All our food keeps blowing.
4 regular SWAT spawn.
Fucking great! Oh, great! You know what that is? You know what that is!
Funnily enough, this is the chapter where everything gets infinitely easier.
Oh, let's go! That's class!
Despite introducing a new enemy. So, like the ones that came before it, this level starts with some simple parkour. Thankfully, there's a sniping section right afterward which gives me the easiest kills of my life. But after that, it's back indoors, the greatest parkour environment apparently. But shortly after, we reach the bottom of a stairway into a rolling door, leading us to one of the toughest combat encounters in the regular game, in my opinion. Now after that scuffle, it was onto the dullest part of the run, an extended parkour section in a red warehouse. Who cares? So after a brisk stroll and an elevator ride, we reached a key plot point of the story that I don't care for, because a new enemy type is introduced, and that is the Pursuit Cop. Now the P-Cop is meant to counter Faith's melee fighting style, but that's completely bogus because they can just abuse the janky hitboxes and abuse slide kicking to win. So after clambering up the tower and dealing with another 2 P-Cops, it It was back into the hallways and up an elevator. Shortly after exiting the lift, we get jumped by 3 peacocks who all go down easily. Then, as we start wall boosting away, we get surprised by one more enemy that's behind them. The uninteresting Uzi cop. Then after that, it's some simple parkour to another building, where we atomize a regular cop in a staircase. Preceding that, it's another couple of jumps till we get attacked by the 2 final peacocks in the level. I gun one down no hassle, while the other one just kills himself.
Get in!
So after that strange occurrence, it's a simple jump to a train to end the level.
Все, пора всплывать, Марбок, к людям, отпуск закончился. Ой, бля, Глена! Какой, блядь, доудер!
I hope you like the colour green. So this level, like most, starts with some parkour to reach our destination. That being the back of a truck to sneak into a boat. So once onto the truck, it's a short way, and then onto a combat set piece. Why are you green? Now surely you'd think with all this experience gathered from the run, this would be a complete breeze. Well yeah, but on the first attempt I died from the stupid jog by falling off a van, then the second I died from overconfidence, but finally on the third I pulled it together and took all the SWATs out on the first floor. Now onto the second floor.
Here we go again.
With the claustrophobic parkour done, it's on to the main deck of the ship, where we have to avoid getting sniped or blown up by some out-of-place explosive barrels. But once we reach our target, I realise that many hours of this challenge has made my CQC off the hook. So after a short beatdown, the chase is on.
Harsh, we need to keep this patient.
So after Strat failing to pursue, it was outside for the final beatdown. Now, with only one chapter left after this, we're in the home stretch. Now, I feel like a broken record when I say this, but the level starts with some basic parkour in the beginning. But surprisingly, in an extremely short time span, there's a combat encounter. Unfortunately, I died from getting Goomba stomped, just look. Anyway, next attempt, I took out one simply and did whatever this is. So shortly after, we kill the most cursed enemy in the run, this guy. But then it was off a building and into the most boring elevator entrance of the run.
Oh, my sport.
Shortly thereafter, it was a hop down to a small combat attempt. Then onto the big climbing set piece, which took some time, but I got to the top eventually. After a short crawl through a vent, I had to shoot a van down, then it was the big combat encounter in the end.
I'm gonna change a light bulb.
We start the level with some climbing, to then get to a valve, which then casts Fireball, allowing us to progress. This brings us to the first combat encounter of the level in a parking lot. So then it's a quick elevator ride and a trip until... Preceding that, I spent double the time trying to do this skip. Then it's onto some parkour on the walls, which finally leads us to a sniper encounter, which took way longer than it should have.
My mango.
Then it's a right after the elevator where you can see the only downfall of low graphics. But then it's the final combat encounter of the run. With that done, it's only a short run before we reach the finale. So unfortunately, we can't kill the cops behind us, as your life force is sapped when you fight them. So, with one kick to the abdomen, the run finally reaches a close. Which answers the question of, can you beat Mirror's Edge whilst killing everyone? Lol, no, didn't you watch the video?